certain element that everyone in the world has common understanding of. And I think that that's the kind of universal connection.
Dreams are a universal experience. There are certain themes worldwide that are common. At life transitions, we have what I call turning point dreams. When we're going through normal kinds of crises, like having a child or getting married or graduating.
That's an incredibly detailed dream that,
Alan Siegel is a San Francisco dream therapist, and like the other men in this discussion group, his wife is expecting a baby.
During pregnancy, men dream about feeling alienated or excluded. So getting a group of men together to talk about dreams or about feelings is a statement affirming men's emotional experience during pregnancy. Tom is expecting his first baby 1 week from now.
The dream started out with a feeling of pressure on my chest and on my stomach. I was looking in the mirror to see what was causing the pressure. And if there was something that I could visibly see on the outside, and there wasn't. And in the mirror, I noticed a nightstand. I remember the detail of the wood, and it had a sliding drawer. The sliding door opened by itself, and there was a baby inside. And then I remember opening up the bottom door, and it was empty. The baby in the drawer was just like a matter of fact. It was like, it wasn't a surprise. It was supposed to be there.
Tom's dream is a wonderful example of a male pregnancy dream. When the drawer spontaneously opens and the baby is there, this is his wish to share unconsciously in the birth process itself.
I really thought of something different. That the nightstand is your wife, kind of that she is you and you are her, that you're looking in the mirror and she's carrying the baby.
That's an interesting angle, actually. Yeah, I never thought of that.
I always think of babies coming out of the lower portion. Lower I think of as a more physical theme, and that upper is a more intellectual theme, that ultimately it's done in your head rather than in your body. That somehow that is a reflection.
That's a good point. I never even thought of that. I didn't.
I think that really kind of ties the image together. It's a great variation on what we've been talking about, because it's growing and it emerges through our thoughts and our fantasies, but the physical reality is when you look, there's no baby there.
Come on in. Come on into the nursery.
Dreams show the secret life of the expectant father. There's a hidden dimension to men's experience that our culture has not affirmed or represented.
When a man really wants to have a child, he dreams about it. He sees the children in his sleep. And then maybe a month later, you find out the lady is pregnant.
Aborigines take their dreaming literally. For them, spiritual conception is a reality. The new life that has chosen to enter a woman has originated in the distant dreamtime past, waiting to be dreamt into the mother's womb by the father when he sees the baby's totem or non-human counterpart in his dream.
Men have dreams, and they dream about a bird or a butterfly or thunder, storm, crocodile, buffalo. My father, when he had a dream that he's going to have a baby, he dreamed about a female crocodile cruising along the coast.
The ancestral spirits of the dreamtime are present in the modern landscape as animals, plants, and natural formations. All Aborigines connect to the universe through a sacred totem which binds them spiritually to their creation ancestor. For Tiwi leader Eleanor Brooks, the connection is through the crocodile. It's a symbolic identity called a dreaming, which is inherited from her father's clan and which she shares with her cousins.
Our creation came from the spirit world. My grandfather's dreaming is crocodile, and I'm a crocodile in this day and age.
My son and daughter will be crocodile. And then from there on, my son and their son will be crocodile.
David and Jennifer's children were dreamed into existence at this special beach. For their clan, it is the place where the Dreamtime spirit makes contact with the human mother.
We call this place baby dream because in our family, all the babies come from here. Spirits walk up here, come up this way. The babies are in the dream time. If you don't dream, you don't have no children.
Over the centuries, the choreography of our dreams may have changed, but even without the appearance of angels or other sacred images, our dreams today can still deliver messages which provide inspiration and spiritual guidance.
If you probe a dream far enough, you'll generally find the spiritual element in the dream, whatever it is, particularly if it's a dream that has emotional impact.
Psychoanalyst and author June Singer is a renowned expert on the life and works of Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. By the 1930s, Jung's field research among African tribes and other cultures had made him aware that a dream is an undisguised message from the unconscious, but coded in a symbolic language which only the dreamer can truly understand.
Jung, from his study in anthropology and from his many travels, knew that people in every country do dream, and that they attach different kinds of meanings to their dreams. Their meanings come out of their own cultural experience. But Jung understood the dreams as having a kind of universal or archetypal significance. Archetypal means universal. The dream symbols are images of what Jung called the archetypes. It's almost like a range of mountains with the archetypes being the bedrock, and the very peak is the personal level. But it's all somehow united. There's a connection all the way down to the very bottom. And this is what the symbol does. It leads us down. It leads us into depth. You can't go to a book of symbols and see all the ideas that's attached to a certain image and assume that you can just apply those willy-nilly to a person's dream, because the symbol has to grow out of the individual's unconscious. It has to relate to his or her problems or his or her concerns.
The dream symbols emerging from the unconscious will be colored not only by the dreamer's unique life experiences, but also their own cultural background. For Native Americans, their sacred traditions and beliefs will be expressed through the images in their dreams.
I feel all dreams have a spiritual component. When I go into dream analysis with Indian people, I analyze their dream by trying to get them to see the significance to the spirit world and to their real life. To understand the dream, you have to understand the spirit world.
Richardson is a Penobscot Indian and clinical psychologist who uses dream analysis in the counseling of Native Americans. For many Indians, the sacred sweat lodge ceremony is an important ritual to prepare the mind and body for dreaming.
The sweat lodge is very important to Indian people. It's a purification, and all Indians seek some method of purifying themselves so that you can hear and respond to the spirits. The Indians and all indigenous people tend to put more credence in the animals in the spirit world. The eagle is especially significant to us. If a majority person was dreaming about an eagle or a buffalo, would have a far greater difference, the meaning, than it would to an Indian.
Sergeant Ursula Roach is a military police instructor in the U.S. Army Reserves and a Hopi Indian. She found herself in conflict when her Hopi pacifism ran up against her country's demand that she fight in Operation Desert Storm.
My Hopi name is Eagle's Cry, Kwatukti. When they told me I was going to the Persian Gulf, I was shocked.
I knew that my involvement there was a history-making event for my people. Only one of 3 women from the Hopi tribe were actually in the Persian Gulf participating in a war which was contrary to the Hopi belief.
Ursula returned from Kuwait traumatized by this conflict of loyalties and plagued by the memory of a very disturbing dream.
What I had seen in this dream was an eagle that was tethered to a perch on top of the homes in my village on Second Mesa. And I saw myself as that eagle. The dream was interrupted during one of the Scud alerts. We had to just jump into your protective gear and grab your weapons and run for the shelters that we had built.
The meditation experience in the sweat lodge is a powerful psychological aid for encouraging visions and dreams. Dr. Richardson is very accustomed to the ceremony, but for Ursula, it is her first time.
Once the flaps of the doorway were pulled down, it was pitch dark.
It's the center of the earth, and from there comes the steam and breath of the Great Spirit and all the spirits.
The steam was scalding, a searing, burning sensation. And so what I did was to clear my mind and then slow down my breathing. This dream that I had flashed in front of me. I saw the tether breaking.
And you talked a lot about the eagle. And with your people, the eagle is very, very important. And as I understand, when they go out, they only take one eagle or so and they leave the other there. So you always had respect for completeness.
The Hopi people used the eagle for ceremonial purposes. Once full grown and when it's the time for them, they will be sacrificed and their spirits will be allowed to soar, taking the prayers of the Hopi people with them. I didn't know until we had that sweat that the tether was my military duty in the Persian Gulf. And at the moment that that tether broke, I just got this overwhelming feeling of release.
So that you were really the eagle.
The sacrificial eagle.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I didn't get killed and I did return safely home, after that it was forgotten until the other night when we had the sweat, when I got the flashback of that. And I realized that there was more to it than that, and there was a reason for that dream. My spirit was allowed to soar, and soar back to me.
I want you to realize that the dream was real. The sweat was real. That's real, and that's you. You are finally whole.
Thank you.
Of all the archetypes of the psyche, the one that was most important for Jung was the archetype of wholeness, which in a certain sense is the archetype of the divine. Not the divine that's somewhere distant, but the divine that permeates all of existence. And Jung then was very eager to watch in the dreams for evidence that showed us that there is a world beyond ourselves, that there is an invisible world to which we can connect, and that dreams are an avenue to that world. I had a strange dream that had a very otherworldly quality about it. I heard a voice. The voice was stern and harsh. The voice said, "Policemen are not supposed to listen to or play music while on duty." It was almost like the voice of God. It was a command. And when I awoke and I began to reflect on the dream, and then I saw this policeman walking down the street. And out of some of these windows coming nice jazzy music, and the policeman is he gets into the rhythm a little bit, he begins to dance, and then all of a sudden it's as though he hears this voice of God saying to him, "Policemen are not supposed to listen to or play music while on duty." And there's a street musician playing, and he reaches out toward the musician, and then he turns away, and he looks very sad, downcast, and he resumes his rigid pace and goes on. Now, on the personal or objective level, I am the policeman, and I am the one who wants to listen to and play music. And I am not allowed to do this. Inside all of us, there are these two voices. So there's this tension between order and spontaneity, control and creativity. Dreams are supposed to help us bridge the opposites. And the phrase that bridges the opposites is "while on duty." Because that means that even though you value the policeman, he's not on duty all the time. And when he's not on duty, then you can listen to and play music. It's almost as though that dream maker is watching you, seeing what you need, and providing it for you.
Persecuted in their own country, these Tibetan monks are continuing in exile in northern India a tradition of ancient spiritual practices which dates back 17,000 years. It is known as Bon Buddhism. All Buddhists believe that the material world is a dreamlike illusion into which they are born and reborn. It is an endless cycle of reincarnation, which can only be broken through profound spiritual enlightenment. This enlightenment is a mystical state they call clear light. For these monks, it can be achieved through strict mental disciplines, chanting, prayer, and meditation during the day, and in sleep, special exercises to understand the true nature of dreams.
In Buddhism, we believe that every phenomena, no matter if you're awake or you're sleeping, it's like a dream. If you understand the dream is not real, dream and the awakened state become the same thing.
Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche is the reincarnation of a 7th century Tibetan Lama, or teacher. After several years teaching in the West, Tenzin returns to the Teshi Menri Ling Monastery, where he spent the first half of his life as a monk. It was here that Tenzin came to understand that any dream, no matter how real and compelling, is always only a projection of his own thoughts. The conscious reality of our waking world is equally imaginary, and all human problems derive from attaching meaning to what are only mental illusions.
If one does not understand everything as illusion, things which we see as real, we are caught into those realities. We are not able to liberate from them.
To appreciate that life is an illusion, Tibetan Buddhists must learn to become mentally vigilant and self-aware during both dreaming and waking life. This rigorous training starts at an early age.
When I was 10 years old, I entered this monastery and I became a monk and stayed for 15 years.
Like Tenzin before them, these young monks are presenting themselves to the abbot for religious instruction. The abbot will listen to their recent dreams and use them as a kind of spiritual barometer which shows the condition of their souls. The nature and content of their dreams, he tells the boys, will determine the level of teaching they are ready for. The blue string is a reminder to be mindful during the day, and the kasha grass for placing under the pillow at night will induce a dream which they must recount before their next lesson.
For us, dream is very important. 1/3 of our life, we sleep, so it is very important to discover
what is happening emotionally in our night. That is the place where you can discover yourself better. Therefore, dream practice is very important.
Just as the dreaming mind must be exercised, so too must the waking mind. For mental agility, monks practice together daily, furiously debating the doctrine of their religion.
They move their arms in order to energize their body. When they hit their hands, they believe there is a channel there which sharpens their mind.
A sharp mind must be maintained during sleep as well, where a monk trains in dream awareness so that he can confront the illusions of his dreams.
Just before you fall asleep, you try to remember all experiences of the daytime and remind yourself that these are dreams. When we do our dream practice, we have 4 sessions, which includes 4 different positions, 4 different ways of focusing. The position you sleep has influence on the breathing, and the breathing has influence on your mind, because without the breathing, or we call prana, the mind has no function.
Through practice of the control of energy or breathing, once you have that experience, then it is very easy to realize the dream, and you can control.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama is the spiritual leader of the Tibetan Buddhists. As the 14th reincarnation of their original great teacher, this Dalai Lama has unbroken memories of several recent earthly lives, and so his own dreams permit him an unusual perspective.
I'm quite skeptical towards my own dream. Generally, dream is a dream. So not at all is reliable. No meaning. Just come. Then occasionally you might get some dream which can take seriously. I met the 5th Dalai Lama in my dream, and also some previous important Lama, a few centuries ago.
The 5th Dalai Lama of the 17th century was famous for attending to his dreams and shares with this successor an enthusiasm for preserving the ancient Tibetan Buddhist practices. This monastery still performs the original sacred Bon Tibetan dances. In this annual ceremony of the 29 female protective deities, the monks take on the spirits embodied in the masks and dance to enact the triumph of benevolent forces over evil.
These masks are representation of the guardian protectors. When I'm dreaming and when I need help, I often call my guardians to help, and particularly things which I cannot do by myself or when I'm awake. When one is aware that one is dreaming, you can change things, a lot of things that you cannot do during the waking state.
Being aware of a dream while dreaming it is called being lucid. For Buddhists, this is a prerequisite for enlightenment. When a monk learns to become conscious during a dream, to know he is in the midst of something unreal, he can then control the images. This way, he begins to realize that thoughts, whether conscious or unconscious, are all mental illusions.
You must recognize dream is dream. When you are sleeping, till your memory remains there, conscious remains there, constantly thinking. You actually realize, now I'm dreaming. Now that is important.
A lucid dream is that you, while you're dreaming, through your practice, that you know you're dreaming, and then you know it's a dream and you can change things.
Tenzin's favorite example is a lucid dream which allowed him to do the impossible, to fulfill a request from his dead mother. She came to him in his sleep, asking for a memorial shrine, a stupa.
In Tibetan tradition, it is very important if somebody dies that you build something for them. It can be stupa, a statue, or sacred text. So stupa represents that. It's called sign of rebirth, cheta. I was in Italy and I had a lucid dream with my mother exactly a year after she passed away. We were here in Dolanji, under the Bodhi tree, and she seems very sad. She wanted me to build a stupa. I was very aware that I was in Italy, so it was very difficult to build it there. I thought that I could ask the help of a lot of guardian protectors. I looked up into the clouds near the tree, and I saw a lot of animal-headed guardians like Garuda, the mystic bird, lion, parrot. But they agreed to help. I heard a sound, enormous sound. Together with the sound, the tree was transformed into the stupa, and my mother seemed to be happy, and I felt very good afterward, which I didn't feel before dream. It was like I couldn't make that stupa for her while I was in Italy, but in dream I made it.
Tibetan Buddhists believe that the experience of the dream is the same as that of the soul right after death, or what they call the bardo state. This is why consciousness in dreaming is so important.
There is a strong connection between the dream and the bardo state, the period of the intermediate state of the death. When we fall asleep, we are in touch with ourselves. That means in a bardo state, one can be aware of oneself during the process of the death.
The intermediate, or bardo state, is a dreamlike condition occurring right after death which confronts the soul with blissful and horrific images. If a monk has mastered lucid dreaming, he can see the intermediate world for what it is, just his own thought forms and a mental illusion. Without mastery of his dreams, he will not perceive the illusion, and his soul will reincarnate instead of achieving everlasting bliss.
If you gain that experience through practice, through training, then that we usually call clear light. Now I'm in the state of dying. So once you gain that experience, or then the intermediate state, very easily you can remember.
Everyone dreams about all the important things in their lives, and their ultimate and inevitable death is on that list of important things.
Unitarian minister Reverend Jeremy Taylor counsels through dream work to help people understand their spiritual issues. For many years, Taylor, his wife Kathy, and a group of San Francisco friends have been meeting every week to talk about their dreams.
This is a group made up of older women who came together because of their interest in enriching their experience at the end of their lives and preparing for the transition of death.
Well, I'll reread my dream. I was swimming in what should have been Alaska waters, but it was warm water. I was pregnant, early stages, not showing too much. In the water with me were beluga whales and fish. I was particularly aware of the beluga whales. I had on a cape, and why, I don't know. As I swam about, one whale came within 10 feet of me, and I thought, wait till I get to tell my child about this, how he or she was that close to a whale in utero. Then a big whale came by, and my cape touched his snout, and my foot barely touched him too. And that would make quite a story for the child. I woke up because Pete was yelling at me, my cat.
It's a wonderful metaphor to me to have, for an 80-year-old self, to have a baby inside that says that there is no beginning, there is no end, we just go on and on and on and on.
And in my version of the dream, to the extent that the whales are images of the divine, the dream is saying there's a kind of divine vitality which the dream embodies in this wonderful natural figure.
Do you remember how you felt?
I liked a lot. The whale, I felt good about that. It was kind of a fun thing when I realized how good I was feeling. I was feeling good without the sex, is what I'm trying to say. And my not being particularly afraid of it, I felt like it was something very special. It's a place I'd never been and was terribly fascinated to see. I was in a state of wonderment. I didn't even think about breathing.
You are like a baby in utero.
Yeah, exactly.
Breathing in the water.
And for me, the cape fits in there because the cape is all-enveloping. And it's that all-enveloping aspect of me, the dreamer, that touches, that makes the first contact.
It was having to do with that touch where your foot somehow touched the whale.
The joy of contact in that moment suggests to me that all of those moments throughout my life are simply like brushing up against this great natural consciousness in the depths. The pregnancy suggests death, being born into a new life. That when the dream child is born, the waking body dies. Whales are also perceived to be the animal harbingers of the divine. The specific imagery is unique to Eileen, but the affirmation that some significant part of life continues is universal.
Something has definitely changed with my 80th birthday. Something has definitely changed. It's all been leading up to this in a way. You could see the whole thing.
As I'm listening to all of this, I remember living with my mother in the last few years of her life, and this is the kind of stuff that was happening for her, opening up and allowing stuff to come through that she had built walls against before.
It's just been dawning on me more and more and more that this is where I'm at and this is me and I accept it. And
everybody in the group has a deep and ultimate concern for their relationship with the divine.
Find artists using dreams much more in the late 19th through the 20th century. There's a feeling that we need to turn away from the world of exterior experience and look inward, and to trust less in reason and more in intuition.
For a proposed exhibit entitled Dreamworks, 2 American curators are researching the influence of dreams upon 200 years of modernist art.
Like this is a good one by Magritte because he calls
Their exhibit will feature masterpieces by René Magritte, Francisco Goya, Henri Rousseau, Salvador Dali, and many more.
And this one, the Jasper Johns flag, actually, he got the idea from a dream.
Yeah, that's a great example. And that's what we're looking for this exhibition, this project, is dream work that's inspired by dream, but is generalized and is very, very interesting because of the levels of illusion of reality and the information about the unconscious. We're very interested in Bill Viola's work. He's someone who is trying to make a visualization of dreams in a very contemporary sense. Viola titles a piece that he did in the late 1980s, Sleep of Reason, in honor of Goya. It's an homage to the artist who began the dream search in a modern sense. You get the image. Right, the way in which in the Goya you see him having the nightmare, which is behind him, and the Bill Viola, you're in the nightmare.
Yes.
The house is burning.
Yeah.
The dogs are barking at
Right.
you. Then the lights are back on and it's peaceful.
Right.
Yeah, it's a fabulous image.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the best evocation of the real experience of a dream that I've seen done by an artist.
For Goya, that kind of sleep of reason produces monsters is the idea that when the rational mind, when the voice of reason goes to sleep, then these horrible beasts come and make things really awful. For myself, however, I sort of had a real different take on a similar kind of theme. In today's time, in this life we're living in now, at the end of the 20th century, when rationalism has dominated for so many hundreds of years, when our lives are all been programmed and neatly compartmentalized, and we have been brought up for generations and generations in a secular society that does not have any room and any overt or unconscious even mechanisms for giving form to our deep inner lives, that we're being in a way slaves to the world of reason, that for me it's when reason sleeps that the real interesting stuff happens, that the stuff that you need for your life, you need to heal yourself, you need to connect with, that we need to balance ourselves as whole people. When that other side comes, then we're whole again.
Since ancient times, humankind has pondered the meaning of dreams and wondered whether to follow their seemingly persuasive advice. During his siege of the Middle Eastern city of Tyre, Alexander the Great had a dream which was to change the course of history. In his dream, a satyr appeared and seemed to mock him, dancing on his shield. But after much coaxing and chasing, the mischievous satyr finally fell into his hands. Greek historian Plutarch relates, the seers plausibly interpreted this dream by dividing the word satyros into 2 words and read it, Tyre will become yours. This encouraged the king to wage war more zealously, with the result that he took the city.
The dream was a very real world to the ancient Greek, and therefore the dreams, we believe, were highly valued by the Greeks at this point in time, both in terms of perhaps guiding their futures as well as in offering them cures from their mortal illnesses.
Guiding futures, offering cures. The ancient Greeks were more in tune with their dreams and used them to achieve remarkable results. In the Aegean Sea off the coast of Turkey lie early clues to the power of their visions of the night. Nearly 2,500 years after Alexander's portentous dream, a modern doctor returns in search of some understanding of how dreams were used in ancient medicine.
Well, for the last 21 years, I've been an emergency physician in a big city hospital. One of the things I'm wanting to do on this trip is to discover what the ancients used to believe and see what the principles involved were in these ancient healing methods, to see what we can bring back and incorporate and integrate and synthesize into mainstream medicine.
Van Nostrand's frustration with modern medicine, with its emphasis on technology and its neglect of the connections between the mind and body, has inspired him to seek answers among the ruins of an ancient healing temple on the Greek island of Kos.
Well, back in the days of ancient Greece, the people who were determined to be incurable had an opportunity available to them to come to these healing temples to the Greek god of healing, Asclepios. Well, the goal that these people came to these temples for was to have a dream which would effect a complete cure of their physical illnesses. During the night in their sacred sleep, they would see the face of the god Asclepios, either in his form as a man with a beard, or the right dream might also include seeing the form of a snake, which was sacred to Asclepios, or even a dog. For them, they believed that by having the right dream, that immediate cure of their physical illness would follow.
For more than a millennium, Asclepian healers interpreted the dreams of the sick to reveal a diagnosis or deliver a cure. Another therapeutic attribute of dreams may be their tendency to reflect the psychological turmoil that illness can produce. Dream therapy may reduce that turmoil and ease the pain. A progressive psychotherapist works with the dreams of a very special group of people in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Since 1985, I've been working with people who have AIDS and people who are HIV positive. Oh, I absolutely believe that it can help people to work with dreams when they have physical ailments, because the fear of the illness can be so debilitating, and by working on dreams and getting the fear to the surface, people find very often tremendous relief with working with dreams.
The remarkable record of Bosnack's dream analysis sessions with a young therapy patient named Christopher led to an extraordinary book called Dreaming with an AIDS Patient.
Winter's coming, leaves are falling. He comes dragging up the stairs to my office, his footsteps exhausted, his face pale. Don't worry, he says, reassuring me. I'll get a blood transfusion by the end of the week.
After Christopher's death, the book was adapted for the stage, and the play conveyed an even more potent message about the power of dreams.
Strapped him down like the animal.
In the beginning, I didn't know that he had AIDS, and neither did he. He wasn't diagnosed HIV positive at the time. This was '85. And so when he had his first dreams and analysis, I knew that there was something going on, but what was going on, I did not know. And then afterwards, when he developed AIDS, the dreams began to show a struggle between light and dark, and the dark elements became very strong, and there was a desire for light and life.
A passage from Christopher's dream journal illustrates this unconscious conflict.
Dream of living in a house with a deep backyard. The hippie woman who lives downstairs is in the garden, barefoot, with long black hair. She's encouraging me to eat a vegetable or fruit that grows out back. It's bright and green, shiny like a bell pepper, but it's somehow hollow and soft and mushy on the inside like an avocado. I desire it and do eat it, even though I fear she could be poisoning me. But out of the dirt in the backyard pops a pinky brown rat with little rat rodent eyes, and it's hungry too. I'm afraid it could bite me, and I try various things for it to eat, but it wants rat food, and I'm afraid I'm it. I offered a little plant bud. The rodent nips the husk and devours the bud, but wants more. What else have I got?
What have I got? I have got rat dreams. I have got dreams of mongrel dogs, dog turds, dog feces. I have got dreams of mangy cats scratching pus from my sores.
The images of contamination and of the mongrel dogs and about the rat, they were very prevalent. What I tried to do is to keep him close to the experience of the danger.
Maybe it's you. Yeah, you! How'd you like a little rat bite with little rat teeth right in your flesh?
No! A rat bite in my condition, I could get infected like that. It could kill me like that. No, 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 no. Here, take this.
By being in touch with the pain of the pollution that was going on in his body, he was able to take better care of himself.
I love dreams. This is like a new beginning. In Texas, I was...
When he was close to death, Christopher dreamt of great journeys, of overcoming obstacles and fears.
In this dream, I am standing on the corner, it's just some corner, and I look out across the street, and all I know is, my only thought is, I have to cross to the other side. Whoa!
I think that the ancient Greeks were absolutely right when they believed that working on dreams could have a direct effect on people's physical health.
There is still much to be learned about the intricate relationship between the mind and the body, how mental attitudes and processes influence physical health. On his pilgrimage to Greece, Dr. Van Nostrand learned that the ancients understood this relationship well, far better than we do today.
For the Greeks, the dreams were important. Mind-body together was a very important concept. I think today that concept needs to be looked at. It may be today that we don't see the face of Asclepios, but we can still have all of the elements required to have a healing dream. I believe that healing can occur through the results of looking at dreams, encouraging dreams, and even looking for the right dream.
Beyond their therapeutic benefits, dreams can serve up ideas and connections which change lives in more indirect ways. The unconscious mind can be a great storyteller, and dreams literary muses.
I woke from sleep with this lingering vision of a woman whom I had known many, many years before in Brooklyn when I was myself quite young. And that was the Sophie of Sophie's Choice. The dream was that of this a young woman coming into the foyer of this rather dilapidated rooming house in Brooklyn with a book under her arm and a tattoo on the same arm. I had been seeking for a way to put down my thoughts about the Holocaust. And what I needed, I suppose, was a catalyst, something to bring this together so that I would have a metaphor for the whole thing. I think that Sophie appeared as a kind of, in this dream-like apparition, as a kind of answer. I suddenly connected her, this memory of a real person, with my own need, my intellectual need to deal with the subject as a novel. And so I was so stunned by this almost revelation that it was as if I'd been given a gift, because I instantly had an outline and a story. And so I immediately walked over to my studio and sat down and wrote the first pages of Sophie's Choice.
Styron won critical acclaim for his novel about a Polish woman haunted by memories of her experience in Auschwitz, where she was forced to choose between her two children. Saving one meant losing the other.
I've never subscribed to the theory that all dreams are significant. The dream about Sophie, to me, is exceptional. It was an extraordinary happening that maybe was once in a lifetime. The way that dreams connect with the creative process, I think, are very subtle and often inexplicable. I do know that when Sophie reappeared, sort of out of this dream, I realized that I had a good story to tell.
Dreams provide writers with a means of getting in touch with the unconscious energies and forces and insights that they use as the raw material for their writings. We have evidence of writers throughout history experiencing this sort of guidance and inspiration from their dreams, as far back as the Epic of Gilgamesh, in which many of the dreams and nightmares have very powerful psychological groundings, all the way into the modern times.
Dreams have played critical roles in the great epics and dramas of many diverse ages, becoming more and more prominent by Victorian times. The personal diary of Robert Louis Stevenson's wife, Fanny, bears witness to the nocturnal origins of one of her husband's great novels.
My husband's cries of horror caused me to rouse him, much to his indignation. I was dreaming a fine bogey tale, he said reproachfully, following with a rapid sketch of the Jekyll and Hyde tale up to the transformation scene where I had awakened him. At daybreak, he was working with feverish activity on the new book. In just 3 days, the first draft, containing 30,000 words, was finished.
I have studied my own dreams for a long time because they are so revealing and they allow me to live in another dimension of reality. There's another symbolic world which is very important for my writing and my own life. Sometimes I'm also stuck in a scene that I can't solve, and the dream reveals a solution that I had not think about. For example, with the House of the Spirits, at the end of the House of the Spirits, I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I had in my mind how the book ended, but I just couldn't get the tone right. It was too sentimental, too political, preachy, tacky. It didn't work. And then one night, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I was dreaming that my grandfather was dead. He was lying on his bed, dressed in black, and the furniture was black. In real life, my grandfather's furniture was black, because when my grandmother died, he painted it black. And he dressed himself in black. So that's how I saw him in my dream. And I was also dressed in black in mourning, and I was telling him that I had written this story, and I began reading the story to him. And I said, well, that's it. That's the end of the book. The grandfather has died. The granddaughter is writing the book and waiting for morning to bury him. And that's how the book ends. The House of the Spirits is a book about memory. So the first part of the book has that dream-like quality of memory, things that happened long ago. The character of Clara in the book is very important for me because she was my grandmother. In real life, she was called Isabel, like I am. And she was a very special person. She was clairvoyant. She spent all her life experimenting with the paranormal and trying to move objects on the table without touching them, interpreting dreams. She died when I was very young. I don't have clear memories of her, but I have invented a grandmother. And in a way, she has been with me always.
For Isabel Allende, family history is central to her writing. Her ancestors live on beyond their mortal lives in her novels and return to visit in her recurring dreams.
But I have this dream in which I see my grandmother writing. She is writing and I read over her shoulder. And sometimes the dream is the other way around. I am writing and she is watching or saying something over my shoulder. That's why the image of her as a muse is so important for me.
Her memories and dreams are all the more intense because of the tragedy which has colored her past. When her uncle, Chilean President Salvador Allende, was killed in the military coup in 1973, she and her family suffered deeply.
The family was scattered all over. Some went to jail, some were killed. The fact that I had not only lost my country, I lost the extended family, and that is what supports us in Latin America. Without an extended family, you can't survive. Some writers can use their dreams as a creative source. It has to do with the person you are, and sometimes with pain. When you go through layers of pain in your life, you realize that the world in which we live is so limited because we can only perceive the world with 5 senses, and we relate to the world through those senses. But there are more, many more senses that we are not aware of. And when you're in a state of great pain, you become very sensitive about that, and you tap into other worlds. I think that's very important for writers. There's another symbolic world which is very important for my writing and my own life. I believe that when I'm awake, I gather information without even being aware of it. Smells, sounds. I'm listening to what someone is saying. I listen to the words, but there are other sounds around that my unconscious mind gets. And all this information is stored in a secret garden. When I'm asleep, I can reach that place and bring some information back. If I could develop a really good method to reach that place and get information, I would be a wise woman.
After his success with Sophie's Choice, dreams came to have a different influence on William Styron's creative life. He wrote about it in his personal testimony of depression, entitled Darkness Visible.
The depression began in the spring of 1985, very gradually. I didn't even realize it was affecting me for a long time. I just felt strange and fragile and disoriented as the sleeping process became more and more fragmented and troublesome. I began to lose the capacity for dreams. And I have a strong belief that it's a self-devouring process. There's, I think, a half craziness, or in fact a very distinct craziness, that ensues when the mind is no longer able to go through what I believe is the therapeutic process of dreaming. I had not had a dream for, I suppose, close to 7 or 8 months, and I began to recover. I began to feel that I was coming out of the woods. I went to bed, and I had, for hour after hour, the most extraordinary, rambunctious, adventurous dream full of absolutely breathtaking episodes and events. It was like the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was fighting rather joyously with imaginary enemies, taking pot shots at me from behind parapets and that sort of thing, and being in and wonderful sort of vehicles, tanks, and there were all sorts of wonderful animals, like being in a carnival of some sort. And the only thing I can attribute it to is that the subconscious had been so deprived of dreaming for so long that this was an answer. It was making up for the deprivation by this extravaganza that went on for hour after hour. I remember when I woke up, I felt almost completely well. It was an absolutely, totally therapeutic process for me. My intuition would tell me that dreams are necessary for mental health. I don't think that everyone who dreams is creative, obviously, nor are all dreams capable of leading to something creative in a creative person. But I do believe that, creative or not, the person has to have dreams to remain healthy.
I'm Renee Kemp. We interrupt our regularly scheduled program for this news bulletin. A major brush fire has erupted in the Oakland Hills.
A state of panic has set in here. The police are coming right by now. People are loading their cars. They're getting ready to leave. If you look behind me, you might be able, well, all you can see basically now is just a cloud of thick smoke.
This extraordinary fire, reported at times to be in excess of 100 feet high. That is the flames, the wall of flames.
At the time of the fire in 1991, I had just finished a major study looking at the impact of important transitions and crises in people's lives and how they affect people's dreams. And in fact, I found that there were very vivid patterns after turning points or traumatic events.
The creative potential of dreams extends naturally into the realm of crisis and recovery. The Oakland fires of 1991 claimed 25 lives and left 5,000 homeless. In the aftermath, many of the survivors shared common dreams.
Natural disaster dreams were especially prominent, and there were many dreams where the fire was represented by another form of natural disaster, such as a flood or an earthquake. And natural disaster dreams in general come at periods of upheaval in people's lives. Do you want to go ahead, Leslie?
Yeah, sure. Okay, in this dream, I'm pretty sure this is on the day of the fire, and I'm running through flames on Charing Cross.
Siegel enlisted 40 survivors to participate in a dream group study investigating how dreams reflect and enhance psychological recovery.
In dreams, we have a creativity and an ability to search through symbols and solutions from the past that isn't as accessible to us in waking consciousness. So dreams are an ideal laboratory to solve the problems that face us in waking consciousness.
Protection, because you do feel so vulnerable, so helpless.
Although Bart Ostro's home was in the center of the fire's destructive path, it miraculously survived. Yet Bart's sense of security did not remain intact.
Someone, or concerned that someone knows your secret about that. That's
the first couple nights, actually, it was almost too easy remembering dreams. I was dreaming all the time. I dreamt that I was in my house. I looked out from my window and saw this huge flood heading towards my home. The water got closer and closer to my house, began to create waves right against the house, and ultimately I looked around for things that I might take up to the second floor of my home. I started to carry my computer up, and all the time I was looking out the window and checking out the flooding, and the waves were smashing against the house, and suddenly the water began to recede. And then a friend of mine showed up, totally drenched. She looked like a drowned rat. She was shaken with emotion and just very concerned about what had gone on.
These apocalyptic dreams are common during traumas and transitions. In Bart's dream, his friend who came, who was very wet and bedraggled, this friend probably was a representation of his own anxieties.
After working through the trauma in therapy, Bart and the other firestorm survivors felt the pain and disorientation were beginning to subside. This improvement was reflected in their dream journals.
About a year later, I had another dream that was about the fire. Basically, in this dream, I walked up to my house, which was in this sparsely settled, very wooded hillside. And as I approached my house, I saw hundreds of large tractors and backhoes and so on tearing down the trees and houses and everything, and almost like the clearing of the Amazon rainforest. And I began to scream at the construction crew, and I started ringing the doorbells of all the neighbors and just shouting that they're destroying our neighborhood. Sooner or later, I was able to organize a protest. Ultimately, the cops came and there was a fighting going on. At the end of all this, the police said that they were going to stop the destruction of the neighborhood. So, I mean, this clearly indicated to me that I was empowered. I was able to organize the saving of the area.
And in the dream where he's fighting the environmental terrorists that are destroying his neighborhood, there's more of a sense of organizing and adapting and fighting back. And that activity, that actively mastering the threat in his life and in his immediate environment wasn't present in the dreams earlier on. It's wonderful how the dream is searching for a solution to the very metaphor of danger and destruction that the dream begins with. So dreams can be a gauge that helps us see how much progress we've made in working out our feelings and conflicts and reactions after a trauma impacts us. We can trace our healing process by looking at our dreams.
This dream workshop and working with my dreams was really beneficial in many ways. I know from dreams that I've had more recently that I'm definitely less stressed out about the whole event, and I know that there's real healing that has taken place around the whole fire issue.
It remains a mystery whether dreams actually assist the recovery from trauma or whether they simply reflect our psychological progress and enhance traditional therapy. What is certain is that dreams can contain wisdom beyond our waking consciousness, insights subtly perceived and discreetly stored by our unconscious mind, a fresh and renewing resource we can draw upon when needed.
When you die and your spirit goes, we believe that we go to the spirit world that I frequently visit in my dreams. It's like going back to the creation time. It's going back to where everything started.
One day I'll have a dream, then I'll know it's time for me to go. He wanted that ceremony as soon as possible. He knows that his wife is waiting for him. We all feel the same. We belong to the dream time. This is only a holiday camp.